There's no way nobody can tell me with a straight face Max gonna win. You can't tell me with a straight face Tim gonna win. I can see Tim knocking out Max. I can see Max knocking out Tim. I can see Max submitting Tim.
I can't see Max submitting no Tim though, man.
Man, I can see something, but look at how his last 2 losses come though. We got the co-main event. It's Tim Means, the Dirty Bird, and we got Max Payne Griffin. And Max now is 18-9. Tim is 32-13. Tim Means is one of those guys who's been around a long time. He's won a bunch of different ways. He's lost a bunch of different ways, but he's mostly won. And he's mostly only losing to certain people at this point in his career. I mean, he lost to Daniel Rodriguez, Nico Price, and Kevin Holland in his last 3 losses.
It's weird because they both were on a win streak and they lost their last fight.
He got 2 split decision losses before that. You could argue that those could have been wins. So
split decisions to
Belal and Sergio Moraes. So that's interesting. One thing is those last 2 losses did come by submission, you know, and there was a few years in between both of those losses, and they were still by submission. So that's
interesting. And then Alex Oliveira submitted him too, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at Max Griffin record here. He ain't a submission guy.
No.
And truth be told, man, Max supposed to be on a 4-fight win streak. You could argue he's supposed to be on a 5-fight win streak because he got a split decision loss to Alex that was questionable, and then he got this other split decision loss here to Thiago. So you know what it is? That's Max's fault. Because at some point you gotta stop saying the judges aren't scoring the fights for me. This is the Piotr Jan thing here, where your fighting style, you sit back too much, and it doesn't offset the fact that when you have offensive bursts, it may not be as impactful, or it might not be fight ending. It doesn't offset it doesn't offset the fact that you didn't do nothing for 3 minutes, so you still can't win this round.
Yeah, he fights too. It's clear as day that he fights safe and he doesn't really take a lot of chances. But I'm gonna tell you another thing with Max Griffin. Like, if you're gonna look at some of his fights, he's been hurt in a lot of fights. I don't think he's been knocked out that many times, but I was looking at some of the fights, even fights that he won, he got hurt, man. It was like, I see why he fight the way he do now, but he can't complain and say, oh, I should have won it. But that Neil Magny fight was odd because he won 10-8 and then
won a 10-9 round and still lost a decision. Like, I just don't see. It's 3 rounds. You won 1 round, dang near 10-8.
This would be a draw at the minimum.
You won another round like 10-9. It's only 3 rounds. You won 2 of them and you won 1 by 10-8. I just don't. I think that was terrible judging, man. Like, I really don't like that. I'm gonna lean more towards Max because he has been on fire lately a little bit. So, you know, I kind of give it to him there. Tim Means, it's hard to really, man.
He beat Mike Perry? When that fight happened?
Remember, he outstruck the lights out of Mike Perry. I think that's what got Mike Perry sent out to the UFC, actually.
I must have been working or something that day.
I believe so. He pretty much outstruck Mike and avoided all the knockout power for 3 rounds, and Mike couldn't take him down. It was easy.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Tim Means, he might outwork Max. I think Max's biggest tool is his wrestling, but he's not no submission guy, man.
He don't know how to put things together. Like, that's what's hurting him, is he don't know how to put things together. And sometimes when these fights get into the point where, like, the 3rd round, like, what was your corner telling you going into the 3rd round for you to not seal the deal and just get the W? Like, did you think, oh, I won the first 2 rounds, or I won a 10-8 round so I can take my foot off the pedal? Like, what was the mindset going in there?
Sometimes
Max is missing something.
Sometimes fighters, they fight to win a decision.
Sometimes
like, if you want
not to lose, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you win the first round to 8 and then you lose the second round and the 3rd round is kind of close, you might just do enough to win a close fight. Because you don't want to take chances, because we've seen people knocked out and submitted at the end of the 3rd round. We see people knocked out 1 second
ago.
But
it ain't that common enough to be fighting like that, though. And the thing is, Max has moments where he showed flashes of, if he could do this more consistently, then yeah. But then we have these moments where it's like, man, Max, you barely lost again. That means you're doing something wrong if you barely lose over and over and over and over again. Something you're doing in 15 minutes is not adding up.
I saw one thing. I was on UFCstats.com. I saw something do about Max. It said every fighter who he beat, he got at least 1 knockdown in. Either he knocked them out, or either he won, but he got at least 1 knockdown. So that's one thing I saw.
But the thing that's gonna hurt him here is that he didn't submit nobody.
I know.
And so if he dropped Tim Means, he's more than likely not going to finish him with strikes.
Yeah, he gonna recover.
Now, I can see him finishing him with strikes because you get different versions of Max. You got their really good version. Remember the one that fought Ramir?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
If you get this version that shows up, or
well, he was getting hit there against Ramir. He was getting hit.
Even Kanan Song was kind of getting in on him too a little bit, and then the power kind of favored Max. But
I think if you take the best version of Max and the best version of Tim, Max is better. But at the same time, like, he makes fights closer than what they're supposed to be.
And that's the thing. Even when he's winning, and Tim, we've seen even not a great version of Tim, but we've seen a like a decent version of Tim more often than we've seen a great version of Max. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You can't bet that the best Max is gonna show up because it more than likely won't.
I'm gonna tell you, him beating Laureano, Thiago Alves, and Nicholas Dalby, Max better than all of them. So I'm gonna tell you this right now, it's a tier lower than what Max is, the guys who Tim beat. But at the same time, he still won 3 of his last 4 fights. And his last loss comes against Kevin. Kevin can beat Max too.
And they made that fight short notice. Remember, they just threw them on the card. And of course, Tim ain't gonna say no.
Man, dude.
They wasn't scheduled to be on that fight card. So
this is a weird fight because Tim lost to Kevin Holland, Dane Rodriguez, and Nico Price. So those are 3 tough guys. And then he lost to Nico from 2019. And people at one point, people were saying, yeah, Nico, he might be fighting for the belt one day. So it's like, that's one thing. But then on the other end, you have an inconsistent Max. And Max, let me see who Max fought. He fought tougher competition, but you never know which version of Max you get. So you have a consistent Tim Means, but his toughest
was a draw.
Yeah, his toughest opponent he beat was Mike Perry. But then you have Max Griffin, who's inconsistent, so it's like you don't know who to put your money on.
Because Max will come out and look amazing in this fight and then turn around and get squashed the next fight. And it's like, what was the point of, man, this fight is a toss-up for me, man. I would not put no real money on it because both of these guys win and lose too much.
I wonder how old Max is.
This is gambling. Like, this ain't the predict, this is pure gambling. There is no way nobody can tell me with a straight face Max gonna win. You can't tell me with a straight face Tim gonna win. I can see Tim knocking out Max. I can see Tim submitting Max. I can see Max knocking out Tim. I can see Max submitting Tim, even though he don't even go for submissions like that.
I can't see Max submitting no Tim though, man.
Man, I can see something, but look at how his last 2 losses come though. So he's losing. When he does lose, is by submission. Max got to have some type of jiu-jitsu. I know that ain't really his style, but why would you burn yourself out trying to go for a knockout against a tough guy like Tim, who more than likely will survive and can come back and
I don't see Max going for finishes, to be honest, man. Like, if the knockout happens, one thing with Max, if the knockout's there, he'll take it, but he don't really hunt the knockout, if that makes sense. He's not like, like Santiago, who's going to go for the knockout. He's more
Li Jingliang.
Li Jing.
They only in there for the knockout. I think Max definitely won this fight, man. They definitely screwed him over. I'm going with Max,
Me
man,
too.
But I don't think that he goes much further than this, unfortunately. Man, Max need a breakout like a Charles Oliveira type of breakout because Tim ain't gonna do it. Like,
and Charles the opposite of Max.
Tim ain't gonna do it, man.
Unless you go out there and knock some out, though. And he gotta be ruthless. Like, say like the post-fight, he gotta be like, I told y'all.
You know, like how
it's a different version of me, like Jorge.
He needs the Jamal Hill energy. He needs the Jamal Hill mentality of go and just get the job done.
But do you have that Jamal Hill skill, though?
He don't, or the mentality. But I think he'll win, though. I'm going with Max just because his last fight should have definitely been a win. So this fight shouldn't even be happening right now. He should be fighting, I don't know who should be fighting, but maybe like
He gets worse from here, though, man.
Yeah. Because even Vicente, if he win, it'll be Vicente, and Vicente will be back on the list.
Oh yeah, he back on the street.
So,
Top
but
five.
I'm going with Max.
Me too, man. Max by decision.
Something, yeah.